Brian Windhorst of the Mothership, senior NBA writer, and he was there for Game 6, Celtics and the Knicks. ESPN's coverage of the Western Conference Finals starts tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern, with the Timberwolves and OKC. Wendy joins us now. You know, here's a random thought I just had for you, Brian. If LeBron James would all of a sudden end up with the Cleveland Cavaliers, let's say end his career there, what does that do to your life? Do you then have to go back to Cleveland?
I was in Cleveland a lot this postseason. You know, the Cavs were, if a team is really relevant, I'm probably going to be there. I covered the Cavs Heat series in the first round, and I thought I would be there for the Eastern Conference Finals. I thought the Cavs were playing great. I really did not see, I respect the Pacers. I did not see them getting washed out in 5. Yeah, I mean, in my view, where LeBron's career is now, he's just in the total icing stage. He can do whatever he wants, and it won't affect the way I think about him or whatever. I know that his legacy is a popular sports topic. I think it's whatever happens is fine. Like if he plays 3 more years and misses the playoffs, fine. If he plays 1 more year and hangs it up and with the Lakers and they don't make the second round, fine. Like to me, after he won the championship in 16, it was all cemented. And after that, it's just a part of building onto the resume. So I would cover it like I would cover the rest of the league. You know, if I'm assigned there by my bosses, I would go. It's my hometown, so I always look for reasons to go there. I was happy to be there in round 1. Played some golf. Thought I was going to be playing some more golf in Cleveland this summer, but that doesn't seem to be going to be happening.
Well, the Cavs are playing golf.
They certainly are. They certainly are.
Do you think that it's just Steph Curry will end his career with Golden State, LeBron will end his career with the Lakers?
Probably, yeah. I think Steph Curry will end his career with Golden State.
Okay.
LeBron, high probability of Lakers. I would never cement it just because the Lakers are pivoting a little bit now. Not a little bit. They've pivoted to Luka. And so that makes their medium-term future a little bit harder to predict. But LeBron has demonstrated repeatedly, time after time after time, his priority is to be a Laker and to live in Los Angeles. So I don't, unless the Lakers did something to him that changed the way he feels about them, which is not their MO. The Lakers franchise has invested in almost more than anything else, invested in taking care of superstars. It's essentially their brand. I don't see that happening. But yes, I think that's very likely where we're headed.
Giannis had reportedly a polite way of saying, trade me, or I'd be open to a trade. When does the market start? Where I guess has it started officially?
Yes.
Yeah, teams proposing.
Yes, I don't think you'll see a significant big move with the star player until there's clarity on what happens with Giannis, and nor should there be, because this could go a lot of different ways. And I do think, by the way, like I may not have the best information on this. I'm not saying that I do. I don't think that Giannis is 100% said I'm out of Milwaukee yet. I think that would be a mistake to assume that. Do I think that there's a growing possibility that he is going to want out? I do. And I think that the league does. In fact, frankly, Dan, the league has been watching this for a year. I'm not saying that there are teams that have like halted their organization to wait for this, but for a year, I mean, even at the trade deadline, there were teams who were like, you know what, let's just chill, or let's just do this deal instead of this deal, just in case we see Giannis available. People were keeping an eye on this for a year. And then when Dame unfortunately had that injury, anybody who would be a Giannis suitor applied the brakes to anything serious. And we'll see. I think as the playoffs go on and we get closer to the draft season, there will be an increasing tension that grips the league on waiting for Giannis to make a signal about whether he wants to leave. And then if he wants to leave, is there a place or places he wants to go? And is he going to have control? Those are big, important decisions that are going to happen. And I think you could even, this isn't an ironclad thing. It's all evolving, but you could even have a player like Kevin Durant sort of sitting on the tarmac, waiting to see what happens with his future until Giannis's future gets tied up. Not guaranteed, but you could see some teams that Durant would have interest in, Giannis potentially having interest in, and you're not getting both.
Give me the team, though, you think has the assets to be able to pull this off. We always look at trades from one perspective. It's like, man, they could get him if they give up these guys. We never look at the other side. So Milwaukee's got to be intrigued by this. Who could get their attention?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that Milwaukee has been working on this. Again, not that if their general manager, John Horst, was here, he would attest to this, but the whole league has been thinking about Giannis for a year. My guess is for some period of time, the Bucks, maybe not on their main whiteboard in the front of their office, but there's a secret computer file somewhere where they have a list of interesting trades they'd like to make. The team that stands out with a bright, fresh, flashing light is San Antonio, because San Antonio has a couple of things that are very possible a Giannis trade. First off, Dan, in the modern NBA, in the apron era, and I understand fans' frustration. I have several friends who are big NBA fans who like snap at me and go, "Nobody understands this apron stuff. Nobody cares about it. Stop talking about it." Unfortunately, that's just the truth. In the modern NBA game, it's very hard, not impossible, but it's very hard to have three gigantic salaries, 50 million plus salaries. And if you do, all three of those guys better be awesome, because you can't fill out the rest of your roster. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's extremely difficult. And to invest in that, to go that route right now is very hard. So San Antonio has something that is extremely attractive, is that they have a star player in Victor Wembanyama, who is on his rookie contract for several more years. And then even if he does get the max contract, his max will be sort of lower down. It's just like what happened with the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy, right? They were able to build out their team because one of their best players was making one of the cheapest contracts. So they have that. They have a star player on the minimum or on a rookie sale contract. They have young pieces in-house that would interest anybody, including Stephon Castle, who just won Rookie of the Year. And they are loaded with future draft assets, including 2 lottery picks in this draft and the number 2 pick. And they have large salaries on their roster that can make a trade. You could equal it. And so if you're Milwaukee, one of the most important things I have to say before anybody goes to the trade machine, if you think Milwaukee is tanking, you've got it wrong. Milwaukee cannot tank. They do not control their first round pick for the next 5 years. So if they make a Giannis trade, even if it is beautiful for 4 years from now and it results in them winning 17 games next year, they're going to have a party in New Orleans because that's who controls their pick. They have to have a real team on the other side of it, unless they go to New Orleans and make the deal for Giannis and get their picks back. They have to have a real team on the other side of it. So San Antonio can give them real players. They can give them young players, and they can give them draft picks. That's the golden triangle. What we don't know is whether Giannis wants to play in San Antonio. And what we also don't know is if that's going to be a priority. If Giannis says to the Bucks, okay, I'd like to be traded, whether or not they're going to work together. I would suspect that they would, but I don't know for sure. So you have a team like San Antonio. You also could put Houston in that boat. Houston has some of the same advantages, but San Antonio is farther ahead. If I was Giannis, though, Dan, and I saw the way the league was going, and I saw the unfortunate situation that just happened in Boston,
I would want to stay east. Oh, absolutely.
I would stay east.
I would say, you know what? Let me talk to Cleveland. Like, if you want to get a team that is ready to win, and that's his goal. I mean, the Eastern Conference, you're right. Boston's wounded. The Knicks are good. Indiana's good. 76ers aren't good. So you start to look at the hierarchy there, and you go, you know what? I could win a championship with one of these teams.
Here's where I, once again, have to use the word aprons. Because both of those teams are second apron teams. And it's not impossible. I want to be clear. It is not impossible. But I would need Bobby Marks and a bunch of spreadsheets to be able to have a real conversation. It's not like it was a few years ago where you're like, if 2 teams deem it so, it can happen. And then you get into like, well, there's 3-team, 4-team, 6-team, 12-team scenarios. Yes, obviously, if you had a battering ram and a will, you could make it happen. But really, these days, you have to consider that as well. But if Cleveland could get Giannis, yes, I would take the phone call, put it that way.
But San Antonio is still keeping Victor Wembanyama.
That's right.
Okay. Now, how does that pair work together?
Beautifully. Because Wembanyama, well, here's the thing. Giannis is extraordinarily effective playing center. This is sort of an inconvenient truth. For example, well, I'm not going to get into that. I don't get aggregated. I don't need that. Um,
We like when you get aggregated.
Yes, your show is excellent at it. Giannis is probably a center in the modern NBA. Okay, but he doesn't really want to play center. But if you put in it's hard to play him at power forward, Dan, because he can't shoot. And it's even hard to play him at small forward under circumstances because it's harder to get shooters on the court. So Wembanyama is on his way to being one of the greatest big man shooters of all time. Like, he is dedicated to it. He is getting better at it. The Spurs want him to do it. At the very least, he has to be guarded out there. And the way that what you want for Giannis is you want the floor spaced. And if you leave Victor to open the lane, Giannis will jam it down your throat. And if you leave, if you stay with Victor and open the lane, Giannis will jam it down your throat. And if you leave Victor, he will kill you. He will eventually be I think, over 40% three-point shooter. So, and then at the defensive end, you have length for days. And the Spurs still have De'Aaron Fox. They still have other pieces that they have and assets they can continue to build. They could pay a king's ransom for Giannis and still have pieces to build. Which is why, to me, San Antonio, of all the teams, makes the most sense. However, having said that, if Giannis is in agreement with the Bucks that we're going to work together, and he has 2 years on his contract, that's sort of an awkward spot. When Dame Lillard went to the Trailblazers and said, I want to be traded, the Blazers said, we're going to trade you, but you have 4 years on your contract. You're not going to have agency. And he didn't. He was okay with Milwaukee in the end, but he wanted to go with other places. Giannis is in the awkward spot. For Milwaukee to get the most in return, Giannis would really have to endorse where he was going, that he would sign an extension. Then you're going to get more, because if you're a team like San Antonio, maybe you're not giving Stephon Castle and both lottery picks this year if you just think you're getting him for 2 years. You want Giannis coming and saying, I'm signing an extension with you. Then you're saying, okay, you're going to be our Victor Wembanyama build out. That's what you're going to be for your back of your prime, and going into Victor's prime. That's what's going to be. So because of that, if Giannis looked at the Bucks and said, I only want to be in place X, the Bucks would probably be highly incentivized to try to make that happen. So if you have a team, because, naturally, when a star player becomes available, there's certain markets that just, can we get him? The Lakers or the Warriors couldn't win a bidding war. Like, if Milwaukee said the market's open, there's no way they could win a bidding war. If Giannis went in and said, I want to be with Steph Curry, that's who I want to play with, is there a deal that could happen between those two teams? Yes. Yes, I would be lying to you if I told you the Warriors couldn't trade for Giannis. That could happen. But it is not something that would happen if it was an open market, and we just don't know yet.
Could you see Joker saying to the front office in Denver, what are we doing here?
I would hope that he would say that, but I don't know that he would say that. He has never articulated that, and he has certainly never done it publicly, and I've never heard about it privately. But if you're looking at this team, they're 2 players short. They're 2 players short. And what ended up unfortunately happening in this particular postseason was that Michael Porter Jr. got hurt, and he was a shell of the player that he normally is. People were criticizing him, and I'm like, well, if you saw the way he played in the regular season, that's who he is. Like, he's an imperfect player, but he's much better than the player he showed in the playoffs. And then unfortunately, Aaron Gordon got hurt, and we'll never know what would have happened in Game 7 if Aaron Gordon was healthy. I don't know. He was a huge difference-making player. And so all of a sudden you're down to like 3 guys you could trust on that team. And the build out of that roster is one of the reasons why the general manager got fired. People focus on Michael Malone getting fired. The general manager got fired too. And, it was because the build out of the roster fell short. That team at the top end is a championship team. But they're not championship team in the middle and the back end. And it's cost them 2 years in a row.
What player, marquee player, star player of the Final Four would benefit the most from winning a championship? If you said Brunson, Shai Gilgeous, Ant-Man, or Halliburton.
Well, what Jalen Brunson is doing in New York is historic. And I think that would be the best story. And if you want to brand me as somebody who works for ESPN and wants the New York team to win, that's fine. I'm from Cleveland. I live in Omaha. That story is amazing. And here's the other thing, like and again, this goes back to the aprons, and I know it's such a boring topic and it's a buzzkill. But Jalen Brunson taking that contract that he took is going to be the gift that keeps on giving for the Knicks. The Knicks are here ahead of schedule. The Knicks strategy was to get some players in their 20s that they thought were together and then take advantage of Brunson's willingness to alter his contract and then build this team out over the next 3 or 4 years. They were really looking at the beginning of a window where they were going to outmanage other teams in the salary structure because of what Brunson was willing to do. People attack that Bridges trade, and that's fine. You can attack the Bridges trade. You can put up a beautiful PowerPoint presentation about it. The Bridges trade happened in conjunction with Brunson signing the deal where he took $100 million less. That's the only way to look at it. And Brunson doing that and then potentially leading this team through, the Knicks as a team are not an elite. The Knicks as a unit are not an elite team, but they are so mentally tough. And they're so mentally tough because of Brunson. And watching him do it and leading that team with his mental toughness is a very, very compelling story. But of course, I could tell you, Dan, any one of these 4 teams, it's really fascinating because you've got Ant Edwards, who's potentially an heir apparent. You've got the Pacers, who are a beautifully built team, who are extremely fun to watch. Watching them play is extremely fun. And Tyrese Halliburton, when he is cooking, is as enjoyable to watch as any player in the league. And then you have the MVP on a team that was built organically. Like the Oklahoma City Thunder are the blueprint of how to build a sustainable team. And they've got an MVP award. An MVP guy is going to win the MVP in the next few days. So I think all of them are good, but I think Brunson's story, especially since the Knicks haven't won. Actually, none of these teams have won. The Knicks haven't won since '73, and nobody else has ever won an NBA title. The Pacers never won in the NBA. Obviously, the Wolves and the Thunder haven't won since Oklahoma City. They won in the '70s in Seattle. But I think all of them are new blood that are interesting.
Great to talk to you again. Thanks for spending time.
Thanks, Dan. Have a great week.
Brian Windhorst.